So yesterday night, the Toronto Raptors played the Golden State Warriors at Oracle Arena starting from 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And this game, guys, this was a must-win for Toronto. Coming into this game, having, allowed an 18-0 run by the Warriors to just basically lose game two, you knew that the Raptors had to retake home court advantage and capitalize on the fact that Klay Thompson was actually ruled out of this game. Had they not done what they did, we might very well be looking at big trouble for the Raptors and potentially an end to the series. Now, I know it's pretty damn early, even though we just finished game three, but I've always said the pace and the kind of the overall backdrop and momentum of a series is decided in game two, because that's when the series truly begins. Game two. And credit the Warriors, they responded, so now we have a series. And the Raptors tonight were fantastic. Or I should say yesterday night. They come out in the first quarter blazing. Gasol is being aggressive, way more aggressive than he was in game two. He's actually hitting a couple of shots. Danny Green starts to get going, hits 2 threes, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe he finally has returned from exile. Maybe finally we're going to start to see some 2013 vintage Danny Green, right? Lowry also, he comes out a little bit aggressive as well, and Fred right now has basically played himself into a solid rotation. He's the official sixth man for the Toronto Raptors, and I can't really complain about his performance given what he's shown us the past 3 games. Even if that means taking Norm out of the lineup right now, so be it, because Nick Nurse isn't exactly using a 3-guard lineup anymore. He's just using Fred VanVleet as the primary defender of Steph Curry, and so far I think it's worked pretty well. Now, you can look at the points he scored this game, but that's just a great player who's probably going to be who's definitely, I should say, going to be a Hall of Famer, getting his buckets. And he was kind of allowed to operate a little bit too much in the first half, but we're going to save that for a little bit later. So we go to the second quarter, and before we do that, Curry already has 17 points after the first. So you can definitely tell that despite Toronto's efforts to guard him, and keep in mind, Fred wasn't starting the game. Fred came on when I think there were 3 minutes left in the first quarter, and Curry was on a roll. They tried to stop the Curry bleeding. I think they were a little bit too late, just because Curry had already had, 15 at the point Fred came on, right? So going to the second quarter, Fred continues to play. He starts shooting great from 3 as usual, making a couple of decent shots. Raptors try to maintain the point differential of 10, and for the most part, they are successful. Now, Pascal also starts to heat up at this point, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, is Pascal, a Spicy P, going to be that second option that I raved about after in my previous video regarding Game 2? Because I said, Toronto needs that second option, maybe even that third option, to elevate to be the 1 and 2 respectively, because Kawhi Leonard looked compromised out there. Man needs, the rest of the team to do most of the carrying. You're not going to see, unless Kawhi strategically chooses to rest and kind of just take a game off, you're not really going to see Kawhi completely take over, unless it's probably a closeout game. Right? So yeah, I noticed immediately that Serge also gets slotted later, I think halfway into the second quarter. And, I've said this throughout the entirety of the playoffs. The only person that can get Serge Ibaka, who is an energy type of player, going is Kyle Lowry. You see, every time someone else tries to do the pick and pop with Serge Ibaka, it just doesn't work. It bounces off a foot. The pass is picked off. The spacing is not enough. Whatever you want to call it, right? Kyle Lowry is the only person that's capable of getting Serge Ibaka going. And we saw that this was... by having Lowry and Serge on the floor, you're taking a bit of a risk in terms of just size if the Warriors want to go with someone like Bogut. Fortunately, tonight, the defense was good enough to actually play, to limit the penetration that the Warriors managed to achieve. They played Boogie Cousins completely off the floor. And I know, Nick Nurse is kind of like mixing and matching who plays against Boogie, but the fact that Boogie was completely off a non-factor tonight meant that he could be a little bit more relaxed with how he played Gasol and Serge. And oh boy, Serge was later down the game. Serge was Serge was cooking. But continuing on, there's one particular play that I think in the second quarter where I knew that Serge was going to be a factor this game. He blocks Cousins and sprints down after the Raptors, go on the fast break to get an offensive board. Like, the moment he did that, I was like, okay, Gasol, you get your rest. Ibaka is going to be cooking tonight, right? Think about it. Gasol wasn't even Boogie's primary defender tonight. It was Serge. And, even though there was a height difference, Serge was good because, let's face it, Boogie could not jump for shit. But Serge can. Now, there's a point in the second quarter where I don't know what the fuck happened. Like, offense from both teams completely dried out. It was a 4-minute scoreless drought for both teams. Raptors take about an additional 45 seconds after that 4 minutes to finally end their drought, which I thought was critical because, and I think it was off a Kyle Lowry bucket, but I think this is especially critical because if you go 6 minutes without scoring, we are looking at an entirely completely different game. And that was basically the story throughout the second quarter. It was the Warriors trying to piece together a little bit of the run, and the Raptors, having one bucket to kind of put themselves back into the driver's seat. Now, I also noticed that the Warriors have been employing the same strategy on Kawhi as the Raptors did to Giannis, and that is pick him up beyond the half-court line because you're going to force him to dribble too much or, pick up his dribble after stopping by or passing it out. And, it was pretty effective. It's been pretty effective for the past 3 games so far. And the only reason why you saw Kawhi get his points, overall having 30, was because as the game continued to go on and as the rest of Toronto started to shoot well, they were forced to give up some of that defensive pressure onto Kawhi Leonard. Right? Now there's also, I think Toronto starts to build a little bit of momentum in terms of possessions, but they get called for 3 offensive fouls towards the end of the second quarter, and that completely stops any momentum they may have built to be up by 20. So we head into, I think, the third quarter, right? We head into the half with only an 8-point differential, and I'm sitting on my chair. I'm just nervous because I know what can happen in a blink of an eye. Warriors can easily go on a 7-point run to get back into it. And in the third quarter, that's exactly what they did. In 1 minute and 17 seconds, the Warriors come out on a 7-0 run, responding to a Toronto 6-0 run. And credit to Toronto, they actually came out of the locker room trying to push the lead rather than just, not making shots and being a little bit passive. And I've always said this throughout, even before any of the games have begun. I always maintain that in order for Toronto to even have a chance in any game, they need to withstand the third quarter barrage from Golden State. The box score this game will tell you that this game wasn't close. By far from it. This game was close up until the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. This game was close. But yeah, so after that 7-0 run by the Warriors, I think Nick Nurse had a couple of really clutch timeouts this game to kind of just remind his team, hey, we still got this. Danny Green is subbed in with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. Now keep in mind that Fred VanVleet actually started the third quarter, and I think this was a very strategic move by Nick Nurse in order to get, I think, the primary goal was to make sure that Steph Curry was continuously kept in check because at this point he's going for supernova levels almost, right? And you can argue that is Danny Green a better defender than Fred VanVleet, yada, yada, yada. But, overall the stats have shown throughout the past 3 games, Fred VanVleet has defended Steph Curry extremely well. Well, about as well as anyone can. Right? So Danny Green's finally slotted in, and he finally, the Green Ranger, guys, has returned from exile. He has finally arrived. He knocks down big threes. He had a total of 6 threes this game. All of his points, 18 of them, came off threes. He has 4. The man cannot miss at a certain point. He has 2 clutch clutch threes to basically keep the crowd out of it, or at least the Oracle crowd, because there were quite a few Raptor chants at the arena, right? And I'm just thinking to myself when he hits these threes, here we go. The scoring load is picked up. Everybody is firing on all cylinders. The Raptors can take this home and retake home court advantage. There's also a huge possession or rebound by Kawhi to save a possession that leads to another Danny Green three. And, what I noticed in this particular quarter was that Fred and Pascal were pretty much cooking it or feeling it, I should say, in the first half. But Kawhi, Lowry, and Danny take over. They start to heat up in the second half. Now, Lowry was consistent the entire game, right? But you saw, especially Kawhi, finally that those clamps started to loosen up. So we go into the fourth quarter. Curry has 40 points at this point. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, if he gets 60, I'm still nervous, even though the Raptors have a pretty decent lead, right? And Danny's playing out of his mind. At one point, there's a possession, and this is the one that really gets the chef cooking. He was pretty much. I'm gonna say this. He was good in the third, but he definitely took it up a notch in the fourth. And it's, I think, off of a Golden State miss, Danny Green leads a fast break. This is after he's feeling super confident because the block party just kind of started. And he gets dribble drive penetration, kicks it out to Serge Ibaka, who's open for a corner three. Ibaka elects to not shoot that. You can hear audibly Danny yell, "Shoot that bitch!" And after that, Ibaka was cooking. He makes up for this mistake because they don't get a bucket by getting a putback on an offensive rebound, a block on the next possession by the Warriors, and my God, was he good? And then after that, he also was able to get a post move bucket, which is ruled out, but he makes 2 free throws. And then on the defensive end, guys, a total of 6 blocks last night for Serge Ibaka. He got most of those in the fourth quarter. Man, along with Danny Green, the chef and the Green Ranger were everywhere with Block City. And it was a beauty to watch. Now, there was also a moment where Fan shoves Lowry, and Lowry gets him basically kicked out. I thought that was pretty funny. And towards the end of that fourth quarter, we saw the rest of the Raptors stepping up big time. Lowry, once again, consistent from 3, being a threat. Toronto activates their clamp defense, and they do so without drawing fouls. Serge, great job. I'm telling you guys, he's an energy player. You get the guy going, he is going to cook you, right? He literally turned back the clock to 2012 Serge Ibaka and just was like, all right, I'm going to go back to the form I was when I had the most blocks in the entire league, right? But even then, the Warriors still hung in there. They actually managed to get a series of plays that were crucial to actually keep them momentum-wise still. I think there was what was it? They managed to draw fouls, get 2 back-to-back foul shots because they missed on the first time they were shooting a foul shot. They hit one, missed the other, get their own rebound, get fouled again, shoot 2 more. Then the inbounds pass is stolen and they get it again. So when they did that, I was like, wait a fucking minute. They just put the game back to within 10. I'm just like, okay, this is still a game. But after that, there was a good timeout by Nick Nurse to basically calm the nerves of the Raptors and get everything, back set. Yeah, not back set, but, everything back into order. Now, the Warriors at this point had responded with their own clamp down defense. And this is just their championship pedigree kicking in. But when the game really ended, like I said earlier, at the 3-minute mark because Fred VanVleet actually hit a pretty clutch end of the shot clock 3. And after that, I felt like the game was basically the Warriors kind of just conceded afterwards. But overall, great win by Toronto. This was a must-win. You had to capitalize on Klay Thompson being gone from the lineup. You had to withstand Steph Curry having a career-high 47. Great job, Ibaka. Great job, Lowry. Great job, Danny Green. Great job, everyone. This was a good team effort as the police are rolling down the lane. But anyway, you can just hear them. Great effort by the entire team. You played Boogie Cousins out of the starting rotation. Well, not even rotation, but out of the game after he cooked you in game 2. Wonderful win. Toronto goes back, heads into game 4, I should say. 2-1 lead. Should be 3-0, but you know what? Shit happens. Great job. I'll see you guys after game 4.